Okay, today I thought we'd have a look at some of my Coodercasters. I've got two that I've sort of built over the years. Have a look at the first one. This is the first one, and this one here, I built this one maybe 12, 13 years ago, so quite some time now, and it's gone through quite a few different changes. This is a real Valco Cipro, or no, they call it Ahuis or whatever, I can't pronounce the name, but it's from a lap steel. So I bought a lap steel off eBay from the 1950s, took the pickup off, and then sold the lap steel. So hopefully the lap steel has a life still, and I haven't totally destroyed it. A good friend of mine, I think he goes under the name of Owl Guitars. He's out in Essex or Sudbury way in east of England, and he basically cut this plate so that it fits with the bridge on the strap. So you can just see that. You don't have to do this anymore, because obviously when I built this there was no other alternative way of doing it. Now there's a really amazing pickup maker called Mojo Pickups based in the UK, and they do a repro of this, and I have one of those on my other guitar, which I'm going to show you in a minute. These are actually the original knobs of the lap steel pickup. In the neck I have an original Cooder style gold foil. These both are. This is basically a copy of Cooder's Coodercaster. And this one, I had another one. I had a few of these actually, and it took me a while to get the correct version. So let's just go through the sounds. So this is the Valco. So that's the Valco. This is the gold foil on the neck. So I'm just going to take my blaster off my finger. Go to the neck pickup. This is the gold foil. So normally you have a problem when you have these two pickups in together, because half this coil is out of phase. Now I don't know what Owl Guitars did, but he managed to wire it in phase. So that's it's a really cool sound. So. So you can hardly hear. You can kind of hardly hear that it's out of phase. I mean, it just sounds like a normal strap. What I'm talking about when I'm saying this is the problem with this pickup is basically one of the coils is normally out of phase with the other one, so it means that these three strings will be out of phase with these three strings, so you get like a drop in volume and it won't sound quite right, but this sounds really cool. Let's go through these pickups. There's a guy on the gear page, a brilliant musician called Steve Kimmick, and he told me, because I'm always fiddling with the little screws in this and this one, trying to get it right, trying to get the pickups balanced, and I just thought it was just me that did it, but there's a video of him setting up for a gig, and Steve Kimmick also always has a little screwdriver and is always fiddling. So with the vintage pickups, they are harder to get balanced and harder to get right. So you've got a few problems with the vintage pickups, which you don't have on the newer reproductions. But yeah, this is really cool. I normally use the right Cooder technique of wearing the slide on my fourth finger. When I'm playing this particular guitar, I am using 12s, and these are round wounds. Okay. So it takes distortion really well, especially on this back pickup. So it's really good for kind of riffs like. And you'll notice you're getting other bits of noise from this thing here. It's quite percussive, and it's. I think you can only get that really on the vintage. For some reason, they sound really percussive on the vintage ones, you know. But yeah, it's just a great guitar. So that's my main Coodercaster. Oh yeah, also another thing, the nut width is 42mm here. Now there's a reason why I won't play a guitar which is more than 40mm, because when you think of slide guitar you think, well, I want to have 43 or 44mm because I want to have a nice wide neck so that the string spacing is spread out. But the problem with that is then you can't put your thumb over, and a lot of the techniques require you to put your thumb over the neck. So I'm putting my thumb. So that's why I kind of, especially you can do some nice. So that's why you can see it's good to not be too wide a neck, you know. So it's a bit of a compromise. This has actually got 12-inch radius, so it's quite flat the neck. So it's a really cool guitar. Let's have a look at my other Coodercaster. So this one here is it's a bit of a hybrid. First of all, young kid called Blake Mills came on the scene a few years back and started you know, setting the world alight with his great slide playing and tone and so forth. And he was using what I really liked is he was using a Guiatone pickup out of an SG guitar. So I'm going to show you what an SG guitar is, so you can see where you get these pickups from. Okay, so this is basically a Guiatone SG. Normally these are pretty rubbish guitars. They made a couple of versions, and they're not very good at all. But as Blake Mills says himself, he's not afraid to take the pickups out because they're really rubbish guitars. But actually, this particular one, I've had a few of these, and they're not bad actually. You have to make a few adjustments, especially with the bridge to spread the strings out. But they're actually really good guitars in themselves. So I'm going to keep this one. It's really battered, and I bought 3 of these guitars really cheaply. I was lucky to find them, and I pulled the pickups out, and I've put them in my Coodercasters, and I've got a Telecaster, which I've done a video of as well. So these guitars are really great, and they're cheap. So if you can get hold of one, even without pickups, you know, this is actually a Mojo gold foil that I put in there because that's a great pickup, that is, and that's a reproduction of the one on the Coodercaster. So this is the actual guitar where the gold foils came from. So let's get back to this. This guitar here, I decided to build. I only had one Coodercaster, and I had that, like I said, for 12-13 years. It's quite old, and I was sort of looking for something a little bit different, you know, because I wanted to get a few different tones. I heard about the gold foils, the Guiatone gold foils, and so I wanted to check one of those out. And this guitar it was my favourite guitar to play as a normal guitar. And then I decided, you know what, I love playing this guitar so much, I'm going to turn it into a Coodercaster, and then I'll, you know, hopefully it will make me play more slide guitar, you know. which it has done actually. It's really, really good. It's a great sound and it's very different. So what I've done differently with this one is I've put flat wounds on. So because Cooder basically has two guitars. He has one which is the same as this with round wounds, and then he has a Daphne Blue guitar which has flat wounds. So that's kind of what my thinking was here. Cooder tunes his blue guitar to G. I've kept these both in D, my sort of focuses. So this is a little bit different from a normal Telecaster. So we've got the vintage glide tone pickup here. We've got this is a Mojo reproduction, and this is a really, really great sounding pickup, which you're going to hear in a minute. And this is a custom-made bridge, which I'm going to just show you. So you can see there. So this is the custom-made bridge. This is the Mojo Pickups Valco reproduction, and this is the original vintage glide tone. Also, check out this. This is really interesting. I've moved the volume control from here to here. So that means that because on this guitar here, it's really hard for my little finger to move and adjust the volume control. But on this guitar, I've got it right here, so that I need to change this pot because it's not very good actually. But so I can just maneuver that with my little finger. You can even do like vibrato. If you don't have a tremolo pedal, you can even do that. So that's a really, really cool thing. So let's just go through this. This is the Mojo Pickups Valco. Okay, so this is the guide tone. So yeah, it's a really nice open. You can hear that this guitar is actually more powerful than the other one, including this glide tone. Okay, so let's hear them together. Right, so you're going to hear something different there. These ones are kind of out of phase with each other. I think this guitar here, when you select the two pickups, they're kind of like, they sound more in phase. I don't know the technicalities, but they just sound more, not so drastic. Well, these sound really, you can hear, it's that kind of Peter Green sound, It's a really cool sound, and when you're gigging, it really pokes out the mix. So that's really cool. I don't know. There's something called a magic switch, which has 15 teeth on it, which is this thing here. And this was made by Mojo. I don't know if he still makes it, but that's how it's wired. So everything wired properly. And so maybe if you want to know more about that, email Mark at Mojo Pickups, and he'll point you in the right direction. So it's quite a cool sound, and that's obviously the guide tone. so I'm using flat wounds. Another thing about this guitar, it's got quite a kind of chunky V-neck on it, and it's got even a smaller nut than this guitar, which is 42mm. So I think this is 41.5, which is kind of like a vintage Fender nut width. And again, I've sort of gone to smaller nut widths because, you know, again, you can get your hand, if you're doing all that kind of stuff, you can get your thumb over the neck, and it's just nice. It just feels more like a normal guitar, you know. I think, you know, you want to have a guitar which is easy to pick up, easy to play, and go from your other guitars, you know. So that's the idea with that. So, yeah, other than that, the modification, the tricky thing was to get a good bridge, because again, if you have a look at this bridge, it has no lip. Okay, has no lip there, so that you can get your hand right in there to dampen the strings, and obviously the volume controls there. Crazy blue scratch plate, and I've got to say this guitar was actually put together by the folks at the Bass Gallery in Camden, and the Bass Gallery is actually a bass shop, and you got great, amazing bass players like Pino Palladino shop there, and it's quite well known here in England, because originally this guitar, like I said, was just a normal guitar with a blue scratch plate, so I thought it'd be cool to keep kind of the blue scratch plate. And the way they've done it, you've got to check this out, this is really cool. So the way they've done it with the volume control, you can see that the scratch plate's been cut so that it covers the hole where the volume will be there. So that's really, this has kind of become my main slide guitar, I think. And it's just cool to have like a Telecaster in the Coodercaster style rather than the obvious Strat. And you know, because it gives a completely different sound to the Strat, you know, and with obviously the maple fretboard and the flat wound strings. One other thing you may have noticed with this guitar is that I'm using a bottle, and I'm using it on my third finger to play this guitar. And I've always had, right from the beginning when I first started slide playing, I've always had two different techniques. I've always had the Dwayne Allman technique, and I've always had the Cooder technique. And so normally what I would have done is played the Dwayne Allman on a Les Paul guitar, but sort of since a few years back, I'm just playing the Coodercasters now, because it's you know, the action's set up for slide, and it's a lot easier. On a gig you could just take one slide guitar and then one normal guitar, and that's kind of working for me. But I do like swapping from the two different techniques, because obviously you can do different things, but generally on this guitar, for some reason, I just gravitate more towards the bottle and the third finger, you know, just give as opposed to fourth finger slide on this one. Yeah, so you know, it's just a matter of preference, but which finger you use. But I like to use both. Slightly different sounds. You can do different chords with different approaches. So that's really cool. And also, you want to select. This is the last thing. You want to set your slide guitar up so that you can play normal. So it's not too hard. You don't want to have like really high action and then you can't do any fretting. So that's another thing I try and do, is just a really fine balance between setting the action, you know, getting the pole pieces right, balancing the pickups, and then when it all comes together, it really works. But that's the tricky thing, is just setting it all up. And I think that's something you have to do yourself. You can't get like a luthier to set it up, because you need to tweak it until it's perfect, and you know that may take a few weeks until you get it just right, you know. But yeah, that's it. They're my two Coodercasters. I'm going to do some more, maybe 1 or 2 more videos on my guitars, some interesting stuff. And yeah, please subscribe and see you soon.